Hi boys and girls, let's get ready for our math lesson today. You are going to be working out of your workbook and Mrs. Collier is just going to show that same page on the computer and you guys will just follow along and work with me. So to get us started, you should see the solve and share page. It is on page 565. 565. We are on topic 14, lesson 3. So if you need to pause the video to go find it, please do so. So this wants us to find square corners and rectangle shapes in the classroom. Tell your partner why a shape you find is a rectangle. Count how many square corners you find. Use the chart to help keep track. Well, since our learning is just a little bit different, we're going to have to change these instructions. So, we aren't all in the classroom, but I am, so we can just look at the things that I find and then work together. So, it says to tell a partner, so I'll just tell you guys. It wants us to find square corners and rectangle shapes. And then when we find the square corners, it wants us to use this number chart over here to count how many corners we find. Well, before we get started, we talked about squares last time. How many corners does a square have? I remember a square has 4 corners. So when I find a square shape, I'm going to mark 1, 2, 3, 4 corners for that square that I find. So let's go ahead and erase this real quick. Okay, so let's start with some rectangle shapes. I found one. I found this number counter. Whoop! So this is a rectangle. Can anyone remember why this shape is called a rectangle? Or why it's a rectangle? So a rectangle has 4 sides, but they're not all equal. These sides are shorter than these sides down here. So that is a rectangle shape. So I won't put any markings on here on my chart because I'm only doing that with square corners. Let's look for a square corner. I found one. So my sign that I hold by my desk, it says you can do anything. This is a square. So a square has 4 sides and 4 corners, but all of the sides are equal. They are all the same length. So this is a square. So I'm going to count my square corners. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 square corners. Let's just do one more. I know. My wooden sign I keep by my desk. Is this a square or a rectangle? This is a rectangle. Like we said, a rectangle has 4 sides and 4 corners, but the sides are not all equal. This side is a lot shorter than this side here. So this is going to be a rectangle. Now we're going to watch a video together. Now we won't be able to do everything that the video shows us, so some parts we might just have to watch.
How can you create a shape? Let's look at 2 examples to find out. Shapes can be made using all kinds of materials. Let's make a triangle. You have to think about how your shape looks. What makes a triangle a triangle?
So we're just going to watch them make a triangle. We aren't going to make one. But it did ask us a question. So what makes a triangle a triangle? Do you know?
A triangle has 3 sides and 3 vertices. 1, 2, 3. Is this a triangle?
So it just told us that what makes it a triangle are its 3 vertices and 3 sides. So is this shape here a triangle?
Yes, it is a triangle too. Why is it a triangle?
So it is a triangle, but why? Why do you know or think that this is a triangle?
It looks a little different, but it is still a triangle. The shape has 3 sides and 3 vertices. Triangles are fun to make.
All right, so now we are on page 566 of our workbook page. So we just flip the page over. So what we just watched was the section at the top, but since we aren't in class and all of us don't have those materials, we just watched them do it. So now we are in the convince me part of our worksheet. So you should be seeing this on your paper. You should be seeing these 2 shapes, and it also says convince me at the top. So our question is, Sue made the gray shape on the right. So they're talking about this gray shape right here. Is it also a hexagon? Tell us how you know. Well, we have talked about how a hexagon has 6 sides. So let's first count how many sides our red shape has. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm not that great at drawing. You guys know this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this has 6 sides right here. So this shape here is a hexagon because it has 6 sides, but it also has 6 vertices. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our question was if this shape that Sue made was also a hexagon. So let's change our color. So let's see, a hexagon has 6 sides and 6 vertices. So let's see if this is a hexagon or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this shape that Sue made does have 6 sides. So let's check and see if it has 6 vertices. Those are just the corner points, remember? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It checks out. It has 6 sides and 6 vertices. So this shape is a hexagon. It says tell how you know. Well, I know because I just counted the 6 sides and 6 vertices. So both of these shapes are a hexagon. So, like I said earlier, since we're not in class and not all of us have the materials, we're going to have to do some things a little bit different. So in our guided practice, which is on the same page, it says make a square. Use materials your teacher gives you. Glue or tape the square in the box and explain how you know it's a square. So we can do this 2 different ways. I can let you just draw a picture of a square, or if you have your grown-ups' permission, you can use some kind of material to make a square and glue or tape it into the box, but make sure you have permission first. So what I think Mrs. Collier will do, I think I am just going to make a square just by drawing it because I don't have the ability to tape or glue. But you all have your workbooks, so if you get permission and you're allowed to make a square, you may do that. But make sure you're able to explain how you know it's a square. So if you need to pause the video, if you want to go get materials after you ask permission, you can go ahead and do so. But if you're just going to draw it like me, we can just go ahead and do that together. So I'm going to use my purple pen and I am going to make a square. Now mine might not be as perfect as I want it to be, but that is okay. Alrighty, so there is my square. So now it wants me to explain how I know it's a square. Can you tell me how you know this is a square? So I know that this shape I made is a square because, for one, it has 4 vertices. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. Also, all of my sides are equal length. So that's how I know this is a square. So now is the time for you all to do the independent practice, which means you do this section by yourself. But Mrs. Collier will still read you the questions, but you have to answer them by yourself. So the independent practice is on page 567, so it should just be on the next side of your workbook page. Make sure you're following along with your pencil. So for question number 2 and 3, we're going to have to change the directions a little bit again. So how you just had to ask permission to use materials to make a square, you're going to have to ask permission again, or you can just use your pencil to make the shapes. So for the first one, it wants you to make a circle. So it wants you to draw, or if you have permission, use materials to glue or tape a circle into this space. It also wants you to do that for number 3 and make a rectangle. And then it wants you to explain how you know the shape is correct. Number 4 says Carlos made the shapes below. He says they are both squares. Is he correct? And it wants you to explain how you know he is correct or not. So just a hint, remember that a square has 4 sides, 4 vertices, and all sides are equal. Rectangles also have 4 sides, 4 vertices, but all sides are not equal. So it wants you to answer if both of these shapes down here are both squares. Yes or no, and how do you know? Number 5. So this question says, Sandy makes a closed shape with 4 equal sides. What shape did she make? So it wants you to draw the shape down here for what shape Sandy made. It told us it has 4 equal sides and it's a closed shape, meaning there's no way to get into this shape. It's completely closed. Number 6 says, Miguel makes a closed shape with 3 straight sides and 3 vertices. What shape did Miguel make? And it wants you to draw the shape in the space in the box. So this one has 3 straight sides and 3 vertices. Both of these shapes sound very familiar. Number 7 wants you to use a piece of paper to make a square. Then turn the square into a triangle. What did you do? So number 7 can be a little bit tricky if you don't have somebody showing you how to do it. So we're going to do number 7 together. So number 7 is a higher order thinking question, which means it makes you think really, really hard to try to answer it. So the question is to use a piece of paper to make a square. Then it wants you to turn that square into a triangle. and it asks you, what did you do, and if you can explain it. So if you want to try this at home with me, you absolutely can. So if you need to pause to go get a piece of paper, you can go ahead and do so. If not, just follow along and make sure you write down your answer at the end. So it wants us to turn a piece of paper into a square. That's our first job. So I'm going to use a Post-it note that's already like a square, but I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to fold it in half and fold it one more time. So there is my square. It has 4 sides, and they are all equal. So there's my square. So now it wants me to turn this square into a triangle. Let me think. If I have to take my 4-sided shape and turn it into a 3-sided shape, it must mean I have to make this smaller. So let's try. If I fold it down this way, it looks like a rectangle, so that won't work. Maybe if I fold it this way. Still looks like a rectangle. What if I fold it diagonally, which means across? Oh my goodness! Look, there it is! We made a triangle! All I did was take my square and fold it diagonally, and that gave me a triangle. So there's 1, 2, 3 vertices and 3 sides. So it asked me, what did I do? So I could say, I folded. Your handwriting's going to be a lot prettier than mine because I have to use a mouse to write. So I'm going to say, I folded my square I don't have a whole lot of room here, so I'm going to use this line down here. I'm going to say diagonally, which is a big word to just say across. But when you're talking in math terms, it's important to say exactly what you mean. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry my handwriting is not prettier. Diagonally. So I could just say I folded my square diagonally, and that is a great answer for me. So our last question says, Mark wants to use straws to make a hexagon. Use the dots to draw straight lines that show Mark how the hexagon would look. So if you remember, a hexagon is a shape that has 6 sides and 6 vertices. So it wants you to connect these dots to make a hexagon. Go ahead and try with your pencil.